There's a famous scene in this film by Martin Scorsese, Taxi Driver from 1976, in which the main character, Travis Bickle, takes out this woman he's been obsessed with for so long on a first date to this really seedy porno theater. She's played by Sybil Shepherd, and she's understandably totally outraged and storms out of the theater. He's just clueless why he did anything wrong. Now, I've had my own share of making some bad movie recommendations, though of course nothing as extreme or outrageous as what happens in Taxi Driver. But that brings us all to today's episode. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, some big mistakes I've made recommending films to students, relatives, and even some girlfriends. Let's check it out. As I've mentioned before, I've spent about half my life, over 30 years, teaching high school English in a public high school. And I tried various different things during that time. I was the advisor for the student newspaper for about 15 years or so. And that's a different experience because you really bond with the students. Sometimes you know them for about 3 years, their entire high school career. And it's a different dynamic when you're working with students to create something or create a product instead of just teaching them a lesson. And one Friday, a student just kind of casually asked me, hey, any movies you recommend I see over the weekend? And there was one that I had just recently seen that I really liked. And I didn't think much about recommending it until that Monday when she came back to school and she said, Kazdoy, I saw that film that you recommended. What were you thinking? And that film was, I wasn't thinking, and I realized my mistake right when she said that, because that film was The Crying Game from 1992. I don't have it here to show it to you, but in case you don't know, this is why that was a poor judgment on my part. And spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, in case you don't know, it mostly involves this guy who begins a relationship with this woman, but during a certain sexual encounter, he realizes that this woman is not really a woman, and they're pretty explicit in how they show that to the audience. So I don't know what I was thinking. I just wasn't thinking. I just recommended a film because I treated the kids as equals, really, almost like adults. Nothing ever happened, thank God. I wasn't fired or anything, though I think today that probably would have been fired. And she was cool with it, and we just kind of laughed it off, and she became a very successful school administrator. Years later, I also had the chance to create and teach a film studies class in high school. And I spent months and months preparing this class. I really wanted to do a good job because that's where my passion, my interest was. And I reached out to some college teachers and other high school teachers who were teaching film studies classes. There's various ways to approach it. You can approach it chronologically or by genre or thematically, or kind of mix all those together. I went chronologically, but I also mixed things together. But I also was thinking I should do a unit on what is arguably the best film ever made, at least at that point, was generally considered the best film ever made, and that was Citizen Kane from 1941. And man, I taught the hell out of this film. I gave them background on Orson Welles, background on William Randolph Hearst, who's really the subject of the film, why this film is important, how it's a breakthrough visually and narratively, and just really put a lot of effort into it, and it bombed. This thing bombed. Every time I tried it like 2 or 3 times for, okay, next time it's going to work. And usually there's 1 or 2 kids that liked it. Maybe they're being nice, I don't know. But in general, I don't know why it bombed. Maybe it's dated at this point. Maybe they just didn't care about this main character. I will say this, Mrs. the Kazdoy Closet, she's not a big fan of this film either. She thinks the story of the film and behind the film is more interesting than the film itself. So I stopped using Citizen Kane in my film studies class. The next 2 film faux pas, we might say, involve family members. Again, I was very excited about this film I had just seen. It was getting a lot of attention. It was just really loved it. And my sister, who's 6 years older than me, one day said, hey, my husband and I are thinking about going to see a movie. Any recommendations? So I, without thinking again, I recommended this particular film. And again, her reaction the next day was, what's with that film you told us to go see? and that film was Blue Velvet from 1986. Why did she react that way? This is not a mainstream film. I mean, it's a kind of surreal. It's also one of my favorites. Kind of surreal. It has some weird sexual and violent things happening in here. And let's put it this way. She mainly nowadays sticks to the Hallmark Channel, and she does branch out into other things once in a while, but this was not the film for her, and this is kind of a difficult one to recommend to people if you think about it. Next, I hadn't realized that a cousin of mine who's a little bit younger than me was becoming or would become as extremely racist as his father was. That would be my uncle, rest in peace. And we went to see movies together fairly recently, and there was one I wanted to see, so I suggested we go see Do the Right Thing from 1989, Spike Lee's film. And in case you haven't seen this, well, what happens at the end is tensions are at the boiling point in this neighborhood, and the main character, played by Spike Lee, takes a trash can and throws it through a plate glass window of a store. Well, it really lends itself to a lot of discussion afterwards. Did he do the right thing, as the title says? Did he do the wrong thing? Why did he do that? Well, my cousin wasn't standing for any of that. We walked out of that. He was irate. He said, I will never, ever see another Spike Lee film, because he was convinced the whole point was to encourage violence and to encourage rioting. So, again, I think I put it this way, don't take a racist to see Do the Right Thing. And he's become more blatantly racist the older he's gotten. I'm not talking about dog whistle racist or subtly racist. I mean full out. And he's pretty much an outcast in the family right now. Now let's get to the good stuff. These are poor movie recommendations on my part regarding girlfriends. And at this point, I was getting near the marrying age, at least I guess it was the marrying age, and so was this young lady I was seeing. And after a few months in our relationship, she asked me, well, I want to know where I stand. I had no idea what that meant, so I went to my interpreter, my sister, and I said, what does that mean when she said that? And my sister said, that means she's interested in getting married. Well, I never thought seriously about getting married. I didn't have a whole lot of good married role models surrounding me, let's just put it that way. So I just kind of ignored the subject. We kept seeing each other, and then one night we were hanging out, and I decided that we should watch another one of my favorite films, The Heartbreak Kid from 1972. And in case you don't know, this is about a guy who goes on, who gets married and goes on his honeymoon, and on his honeymoon decides he's not that crazy about his wife and falls for another woman that he meets on the beach in this honeymoon. So why did I show her that? What was I trying to say? Was I trying to say I was afraid of marriage? Trying to say she's not the one for me? Because even though she was a wonderful person, she wasn't the one for me. Put it this way, we did not stay together. And as far as I know, she's still married now to some other person, and she has kids, and she's happily married, which I hope she is, because like I said, she was a really nice person. Now, let's talk about a first date, because again, another film that I really love, but I was still clueless about how appropriate it would be, is on a first date, I took this young lady to a revival house to see a Clockwork Orange, which was made in 1971. And why is this inappropriate? Well, put it this way, a couple of reasons. One is it was originally rated X, though I don't think it would be rated X today. And this is rather provocative regarding some sexual situations and themes and some violent sections. Put it this way, some people can't make it past the singing in the rain sequence, which is about maybe a half hour into the film. So if you know the film, you know what I'm talking about. It's a rather disturbing sequence. So looking back, when I look back at it now, I think, wait a minute, was I Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver taking a first date to go see a X-rated movie? And again, in The Heartbreak Kid, that was Sybil Shepherd, and she was the one in Taxi Driver. So is this all being connected all of a sudden? But happy ending, because the woman I took to see A Clockwork Orange on our first date is now Mrs. the Kazdoy Closet, and 26 years later, we're still married, and things work out, except on my birthday in 1999, we went to see another Kubrick film, Eyes Wide Shut. I loved it. She hated it. So we don't always agree, but now she's kind of stuck with me. Feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below. Have you had similar experiences where you've recommended films and then realized later on maybe that wasn't the best film to recommend, or things just went poorly? Share that if you'd like to. At this point is usually when I read off the names of people who have commented since our last episode, but the last episode I did on getting into 4K got so many comments and so many views, it really blew me away. And so it got over 180 comments. So I'm not going to read off 180 names. That would bore everybody to death. And it got over 10,000 views. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. I post these episodes. I have no idea. I'm just kind of going with what I'm interested in and what I'm going through and my own personal journey, what's happening here. And hopefully people are along for the ride. So that's what's going on with the comments and with the channel. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. I would like to welcome our newest subscriber since our last episode: Frost, IS, Robert, Snakebite, Carly, Bobby, Home Theater Man, Dennis, Dijon Streak, and Dino. We surpassed our goal, and we are almost at 1,200 subscribers now. Wow. Just thank you so much. I never expected that to happen. Really, really appreciate that. I don't always get notified about who's subscribing, but these are the ones that I got notified about. I did want to do something special for when we reached 1,000 subscribers, and I have a bunch of digital codes for films I don't use, and I would offer those to you. So let me know in the comments below, would you like that for the next episode? I can just put it on the screen and first come, first serve, and if that's what you like to do, that's good with me. Subscribing is free. Also free is we're on the Letterboxd app. There's a link down below in the notes. We're under the Kazdoy Closet on Letterboxd. That's where we leave brief written reviews of other things we're watching that we don't talk about here. Most recently, Zombies of Moratah and The Giant Claw. Both of those are from the Cold War Creatures box set from Arrow. If you like that kind of thing, highly recommend that. We also watched Cemetery Man, American Fiction, and I Shot Jesse James. So check us out on Letterboxd. Otherwise, guys, thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. See you next time.